Mourinho's out of work after being sacked by Roma in January and is seemingly keen to get back into management. The question is where? He's been speaking to the Telegraph, Simon. He's been open up about his time at Manchester United and maybe more specifically where and when it went wrong. He says, my relationship with the former chief executive Ed Woodward was good. Good as in the personal point of view. Even now, we send an SMS. What is that, a text message?
Short message service.
That's lovely. But from a professional point of view, it was not the best. I am who I am. I am a football man. Ed comes from a different background. And what Ten Hag has in his time at Manchester United, I didn't have. I didn't have that level of support. I didn't have that level of trust. So I left sad because I felt I was in the beginning of a process. Anyway, the process didn't happen, and we all know that that was it and it was time up. What's your take on that? I mean, he's suggesting that Ten Hag's got something at a different time that he didn't have in his time with Woodward, which probably isn't far off the mark. But he didn't help himself at the end, did he, Mourinho?
It depends what he's suggesting. Is he suggesting that the inclusion of Jim Radcliffe and the refocusing and the recalibrating of a clearly failing recruitment network that didn't give him what he wanted at the time because he wasn't fit for purpose under Ed Woodward is now being fixed, and Ten Hag is the beneficiary of that? Is he saying that the last 2 years that's been a situation as well, that Ten Hag's got more benefits? I'm not entirely sure what he's saying, but either which way, what he's criticising is the lack of support that he got. And when you think about the Mourinho, and I don't agree with the fact that Jose stayed in a hotel up in Manchester and that sort of stuff was allowed. I think he should have been based up in Manchester and been focused on the job that he was doing there. But a lot of the things that are happening at Manchester United in terms of the culture of the football club going down the Swanee, with players doing what they think they can do when they want to do it, how they want to do it, and not recognising the kind of club they're playing for, I think you can look back on Mourinho's time and say, well, his battles with Pogba, and some of the achievements he got with Manchester United in terms of winning a league, I think the League Cup and winning a UEFA Cup and finishing second in the league, were probably relatively decent achievements. And whether his behaviour at the end was darker than it needed to be, and perhaps his attitude and disposition with the media, because I think when you think about Mourinho, he creates a very clandestine spirit inside football clubs. He gets people all against the world. It's all against the world. In this conversation I had with John Terry the other day, it came evident to me that Mourinho's attitude with the Chelsea boys was, we're all together and everyone's against us. And that creates a certain outlook in the media that think of him in a certain way. And Jose can be divisive. And ultimately, he can also be very good at what he does. I still maintain the view that he's one of the greatest managers we've ever seen. I think he was a revelation when he came in 2004. I think he's done more things right than he's done wrong, but he will divide opinion because he's controversial and he doesn't pull his punches, and he can be badly behaved in certain circumstances, as we've all seen. There's no point defending it. I don't think poking one of the other bench in the eye in the El Clasico is elegant management. I don't think some of the things that he said is elegant management. I think some of the things he said are also equally as brilliant. I think him calling Arsene Wenger a specialist in failure is pretty bloody clever. Yeah, but when the upshot at Roma, when he's screaming at Anthony Taylor in the car park after they lost to Sevilla, but that's because it's in a European final. We don't know how much, neither do you and neither do I, how many times altercations happens between referees, and the media took it and the media reported it and it got elevated. Right? Because otherwise, and I know you're going to say that if he didn't do it, the media couldn't report it. And of course I understand that. But when we start talking about Anthony Taylor being assailed at the airport, it's A, because of Mourinho's behaviour. It's also because it was made into a song and dance by the media as well. Otherwise no one would be aware of it. But Mourinho shouldn't have done it. There was no song and dance by the media. No, Mourinho brought it on. There was a song and dance. No, Jim, I have seen managers tear strips off referees in corridors, and it's never found its way into the media. I have seen that. Right, so it happens all the time. But because Georgie did it in public in a car park. Because Mourinho's done it. Yeah. And I've seen it done in public places. No, but he chose to do it publicly in that car park. Well, who was there? Who was there? Who was there? Who was there in his public car park that listened to it? Umpteen people filmed it. Right, okay. So what we're saying is that an altercation... Because Georgie knew it would get into the public domain. Are we saying that grown men can't have an altercation? Is that what we're saying? No, we're not saying that. But what did it lead to? It led to a pile-on at the airport, which involved Anthony Taylor's family. So basically, grown men behaviour get excused. Individual grown men that can take their own reactions to things are excused by the fact that Mourinho had a go at a referee. That's the reasons why. I think what you get with Mourinho is that
ultimately he will crash and burn, as he did at Roma, post-Manchester United.
It depends what you think crashing and burn looks like.
When he created the siege mentality there as well.
Yeah, but I think you're biased. I think you don't like Mourinho. I think you've got contempt towards his behaviour, and I think you don't give a... And I think
his behaviour at times is absolutely ridiculous.
But I think most of them are. Look at some of them. Alan Pardew headbutted a bloody player. I mean, managers get at it. They all get at it. You just don't, except when Mourinho's in there, and then you're all right with him.
That's absolutely nonsense.
I think it's rubbish what you say half the time about Mourinho. I think you've got a confirmation bias about what you think he is and what you think he isn't.
But with Mourinho, don't you concede that it always seems to be someone else's fault?
Well, like, in what example?
Well, look at the latest quotes in the Telegraph. He's saying he didn't get the support that Ten Hag's getting.
But is it true?
That his relationship with Woodward was good? Personally good? Yeah, sure. But from a professional point of view, it wasn't the best. I am who I am. I am a football man.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Here's who he is, as you rightly say. He lived in a hotel in Manchester all the time, and they let him do it.
Oh, that's bad management from them, right? And he won't be the only football managers that's done that, right?
Yeah.
For a start. But here's the thing, right? If it's true what he's saying, is there anything in that we can say, oh, come off, Jose, don't pack it in. You've got precisely what Ten Hag... If he hasn't got precisely what Ten Hag's got, or the opportunity that Ten Hag now has, which is Ineos coming in and taking it away from the Glazers, then what he's saying is factually correct. I'd like him to be a bit more dignified. I wouldn't like him to walk in a room and go, 3 titles, 3. I don't like all that stuff.
No.
But I know it's box office. I think, there's a bit more style about doing it a different way. But his way is his way. And I think it's unarguable. I mean, Pep Guardiola, I think some of the things that comes out of his mouth aren't the most... Besides the fact he's a genius, and I was told yesterday by certain media members of the Man City fan base, how can a failed football club chairman talk about a genius and tell him to be quiet? Because I think ultimately what he said was ridiculous yesterday over the weekend. And so everyone is up for grabs in this multifaceted 360-degree world of scrutiny of every syllable and every meaning. I think Mourinho stands the test of time. I think like most people that are very, very strong, they divide opinion.
And that's why you back him for England.
I like him for England. I tell you why I like him for England. Because I'm not interested in popularity with the press and how that the different factions inside the England camp will play nicely together. I'm interested in winning big football matches. And I worry that my argument about Mourinho in the Souness and Jordan debate was about the idea that we don't win things. Now, if Southgate goes and wins the European Championship, then my point is moot. But if we choke again and we take away defeat from the jaws of victory, I would make the case that serial winners that don't care about popularity contests might get England across the line, and they might alienate a few people. It's never going to happen because it would put the fear of God into that spineless organisation, the FA. But notwithstanding it, I like him. I like more about him than I dislike.
Even though he'd probably end up being divisive.
I don't care about division. Sometimes division is good.
Yeah.
Not division for division's sake, but sometimes a few people need to be bloody told.
So you told Souness in your podcast that
yes,
you thought, yeah, possibly Mourinho for England. Why not? And then Jeff Stelling had this.
Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. He is negative. He is divisive. He was a winner. When was the last time he won something? I can understand Graham saying it's a good idea. He's a Scot, for goodness sake. But Simon Jordan, hang your head in shame. The day that Jose Mourinho becomes the England manager is the day I stop watching England.
Well, there you go. That was Jeff.
Well, that's okay. Jeff's got entitled to opinion. I'll take it from credible sources. I'm not worried about Jeff Stelling. He watches Hartlepool, so he doesn't know anything about what winning looks like. So with due respect, Jeff's got his opinion. I've got mine. And neither one of us are going to be right or wrong because he's not going to get the job.
Yeah. I do think, I cannot imagine the reaction out there amongst England fans if Mourinho was ever to get it. Where do you honestly think he will find himself next? Because he does want back in. They can never give it up. They can never, ever walk away from it. Mourinho will work again.
I don't know.
Where?
I don't know. I think the fundamental thing, again, I don't want to keep referencing this conversation with Terry, was that how much has he changed? And it wasn't him that's changed, it's players that have changed. His success at Chelsea was about being very strong with his players and very strong, and he ran the football club. Years later, the game has changed, players have evolved, and the same tactics that he had before can no longer evolve. So the question is, can he evolve again? Probably not, because he's an old dog, and can he learn new tricks? And is domestic football still something he wants to do? Or does he land at international football? Now, whether that's with his home country or something else of interest, I certainly hope it's not in the Middle East. not because I have any disrespect to the Middle East, not because I have any motivation besides saying that, because that league is not at the level that Jose Mourinho is managing at still. And I would think it would just be a money grab. And I understand the reasons why people do that, because Christ on a bike, everyone's here for money. But the point is that I would like to see Mourinho get another twist of the dial, but I don't know where, and I don't know in which
Good
league.
for you. Just calling. Mourinho's a cheat. 2003 UEFA Cup final. Simon, you're talking nonsense.
It's a great thing about opinions.
If he gets the England job, they'll win nothing with him in charge.
Well, we know about that, don't we?
I must admit, I cannot imagine him in charge of England. When the emphasis, I think, is more make sure you don't lose as opposed to you win. That would be the Mourinho. I would have thought would be the Mourinho
so you
way.
You think that is the very embodiment of what we've currently got. That is the crux of my argument about Southgate. Who said it the other day? He manages like a centre back. In terms of what could happen to us.
But Southgate has got you closer to winning something than anyone ever has had.
And I tell you for why.
Since 1966.
I tell you for why. Because of the
when
quality,
you weren't even around.
Because of the quality of the opposition. What a wonderful time! What a wonderful time to be an England manager.
Are you a bit like Jose? Never your fault.
You've got the best. It's nothing to do with fault. It's nothing to do with fault. You've got the best players around in Bellingham and Kane and God knows what else.
Yep.
And you've got the worst opposition that we've had in years. We should be progressing in tournaments
and should win the Euros.
We most certainly should.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that. It's 12:30.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.